Before we vote, I'd like to have an understanding of how this is going to be brought back to us. I've heard several different things here. One was if we have 90 days to tweak it, or as Lieutenant Hubbard said, massage it, change it, whatever, then are we bringing it back to the board in 60 days? Are we going to get a copy of the changes so that we can, because I mean, as I said earlier, this is a 431-page document. I have looked at it and read a good bit of it, but this is not a document that you look at and read. It's a document you study. Mm-hmm. And that's two different things. It's sort of like being back in school and having an intense subject that you have to read something 4 or 5 times before it sinks in, or at least I did. You know, that's how I view this, and I can't see having it for, you know, the meeting before the 90th day.
I would say that that's really the pleasure of the board. We have 90 days as a starting point. Does the board want 20 days to review? Do they want 30 days to review? So I would kind of pose that to you as to what you would like to see, because we will in turn, you know, notify everybody that this is the timeline that they need to meet, because I really don't want things coming in after the fact, so that we're not up against the wall like we are with this topic right now today. Exactly. I'd rather not be here again.
So we're not scrambling like we are today.
Exactly. So what I would recommend is that the board give direction as to whether they want 10, 20, 25, 30 days. What would you prefer?
Well, even 14 days before it expires. In other words, 2 meetings before we would have.
Would you like 14?
At the last. I mean, I would be good with that.
Okay.
That's fine for me. I think 20 to 30 days is a better idea, not to disagree with Supervisor Kearney, because 431 pages. We have 7 areas that we have to be concerned with. And how much are we going to be involved in adjusting those ideas from the board, from our department heads? I just don't want to cut ourselves short.
Okay, so how about if we do, we'll bring it back, you know, because you got to consider the department heads' time too, and right now they're pretty darn busy. How about 60 days, bring it back, and then we have the extra 30 days to go over it and make any suggestions during
Probably
the
28, because you're talking a 7-day from your
Okay.
meeting.
I prefer
days.
28 and a half days.
Right.
So.
Thank
One
you,
month.
Supervisor Wright.
Now, keep in mind that we have holidays in that too.
I can read on my holidays.
And I want to reemphasize that remember, you're going to be looking at additions and or deletions. You're not going to be looking at another 421 pages. So that's not the scope. You're just going to be looking at additions. So hopefully it's not going to be
And you'll get a
that
hard
significant.
copy for us,
Study it
this-
Yes,
now.
we can get you a hard copy, but it won't be that significant as what you're seeing here today. So
I'll tell you right now, I would have a real issue with this if I didn't know that it wasn't, if I didn't know that the planning commission wasn't going to be involved.
Well, we haven't said they are at this point.
If it goes into any general plan, it will be.
At least a safety issue.
At what stage?
It is the part of the safety element. It has to be a general plan amendment, and it has to be, what's going to come back to us again on that one?
I agree with you. So are we, before it comes back in the 60 days, are you suggesting we send it to the planning commission? Or
No,
after? Afterwards?
We can look at it and.
I think council has a comment.
Do some tweaking on it if we want to. In order for it to go into the general plan, it's going to have to be an amendment. And then it also is a reference,
Peter's back there.
right? Am I wrong about that?
Magically
I am
appears.
glad you showed up, Peter.
Thank
Peter
you.
Maurer, apologize for missing the first part of this discussion, or most of the discussion, it sounds like. I'm not familiar with the specifics of the statute, but I understand that this must be adopted by reference in the safety element of the general plan. So that is an amendment to the general plan, which would require action by the planning commission, recommendation to the board for final action. What was the specific question that you
That was
had?
actually the short answer that I was trying to get to.
So if to, we could, we would definitely need to review this. I just, last week, for the first time, 431 pages, a lot to review. I don't know if there are any consistencies with our existing general plan or not. We certainly will want to look at it closely as we go through this sort of revision process, within the next 90 days.
And I just wanted to clarify, doing a general plan amendment is not something that has to be done in the 90 days. This is something that has to be done to implement the plan in the future. So the general plan amendment that would be going to the Planning Commission is not this plan. The general plan amendment that's going to the Planning Commission is reference to this plan that's amending the general plan. And that's just one element of implementing this plan in the future. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Well, it did until you had, yeah.
Yeah, it did. I'm a little dizzy, but it did.
So we're going around.
So I guess, Mr. Mauer, what we're speaking about, I understand that the planning commission is going through the general plan,
Correct.
doing a very thorough job. Maybe we could address any recommendation on the safety element
Well, it'll eventually get
by
to
the,
that.
by the commission and advise the board on a recommendation at this point.
Well, that's ultimately what they will be doing, is providing a recommendation. I think that closely work with county council to ensure that we do it procedurally correctly. If there is a need to amend the current plan to reference this hazard mitigation plan, we can do that fairly simply. We do want to make sure that if that's what we're adopting, that it meets the county's needs. The safety element, we probably won't, the planning commission probably won't get to the proposed draft safety element until late December, early January at this point in time, just given the schedule that we're on and in the thoroughness of their review of the various elements. And then because of the time frame for doing the EIR and final adoption of the plan, it will be some period of time before the new general plan is adopted. So we'll take an action to incorporate into the current general plan that we have, the one that was adopted in '96, and then ensure that it's consistent with the proposed new draft, so as we go through the process, it'll work seamlessly.
Slightly easier.
Key question, on a 90-day period, apparently, if we adopt our mitigated hazard plan now, it's February 8th, by my count, that's 90 calendar days. Can we get the safety element if we're going to incorporate our existing general plan right now, or do we have to do that? If so, is that enough time?
I don't think that's
Yes, we
necessary.
can, but is it necessary?
I don't think
Yeah,
that's
it's not
necessary. Is
necessary.
that, Helen?
I
It's
just
not
don't want to
necessary.
shortchange ourselves on the back
No,
end.
it's not necessary.
Okay, all
No.
right.
You- This is a living document, so you have time.
But the understanding is exactly what he just said. It's a living document. And so when the planning commission adopts the safety element, they will be reviewing the hazard mitigation plan? Or will they spend much time on it, or it just becomes part of what's?
I don't think they can adopt.
I'd have to go back and look at the statute a little more closely to know exactly what needs to be done.
There's a motion on the floor, right? And it's seconded. Can we go ahead and vote on
I
it?
have one
We're
more,
still having
one more
discussion.
item for discussion.
Oh,
One comment. I'm sorry, Chris. I just got to do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have not had the opportunity to review this document in depth. I've looked at maybe 25 pages. And I just want folks to understand that I believe in the support of my colleagues up here as supervisors, but I am very uncomfortable voting on an issue that I haven't had an opportunity to review, but I'm convinced by testimony here that this is the right thing to do at this time.
cool. Are we good now?
So I have a motion by Supervisor Ponte, second by Supervisor Wright.
Just the opposite.
Sure.
The other way?
The other.
Okay. So I have a motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Ponte. Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Very good.
It is lunchtime. Now, we're gonna go ahead and finish it up, if you guys don't mind,
I don't.
okay? Shouldn't take that long. Of course, that's what I thought about this whole thing. Helen, thank you for coming today.
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you both for coming today.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon a board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Any member of the public wish to pull a consent agenda item that we have?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Any member of the board wish to pull
All in favor?
consent agenda item? Okay. Motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Yeah. We just approved it.
Yes, it is.
Oh, you. It doesn't state the consent. Yeah,
It does.
Yeah.
Those from consent agenda 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and 21.
Not 21. It's too late. We already voted on it.
Excuse me, I think Mr. I'm addressing the chair. I didn't ask for your opinion, sir.
Oh, I give it to you anyway.
Parliament procedure.
Okay, so
I gave it to you
So
anyway.
I asked the public if they wanted to pull an item, and I didn't hear anybody say that they wanted to pull an item. If you wish to talk about that, we can do that.
Please.
Okay?
Well, no, we've already voted on it, so you'd actually have to reconsider the motion. That would take a,
Still talk, give them a public comment on it. That's it.
okay.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sure you noticed there's about $150,000 involved. It goes to different counties, Ptolemy and Emerald County. If you're giving it to them, you don't have anybody in this county with the mental capacity to do this? Have you read it all? I think a couple of people are reading it right now. It's no impact on our general fund, but it does have impact on the county by 2 other counties. And if you looked at the details of this, about over 1/3 of it goes to administration cost. So who's going to milk this cream over here, folks? Who's going to get this administration cost? Is the administration cost of this county or those 2 other counties to make decision what's going to happen in this county? Thank you.
Mary Sawicki, Director of Calaveras Health and Human Services. This is an allocation that we applied for. It's a grant to provide housing funds and housing support for homeless individuals under the CalWorks program. It's specifically, the money would be an allocation that would provide a variety of services. We've worked with ACCA before. They are a great program service that the individual who would provide the service would be an ACCA employee within our office. We have worked with them extensively. We are part of a continuum of care. We do not have the housing expertise, as we've said many times before, and we had a successful 3-year grant with them a few years back. It was $250,000. We received a statewide award for that. It was a federal grant, just to let you know, and they are wonderful people to work with. The people who will receive the services are all Calaveras residents. All we're doing is buying the expertise of ATCA, who are just great folks.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, so does the board wish to reconsider this, their vote on this? No?
I'm fine with our decision.
So you guys okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was to be a 4/5 vote by the Board of Supervisors. All right, supervisor announcements.
I have nothing to report.
I attended a COG meeting last Wednesday. Thursday, did a whole bunch of things, but one thing that really had my attention was I attended a local implementation plan meeting with Jeff Krovitz at Public Works with Cal Waste. And that has to do with where we are in our requirements as far as how much garbage goes into the landfill and what type of it. And Friday had the solemn experience of attending Sheriff Kuntz Memorial. It was not an easy day to be a county supervisor, but I will say I was very proud of our county. We hosted the event as citizens very well. The streets were lined with flags honoring him, and despite the toughness of the day, it was heartwarming to know our citizens care.
Thank you, Supervisor Kearney. I also attended some meetings dealing with the funeral of Sheriff Kuntz and attended his services. I'm proud to say I was a member of that department. I also attended the EPOC meeting held on Wednesday. EPOC is the Ibbot's Pass Property Owners Committee representing the homeowners associations located in Upper Highway 4 corridor, especially my district. Great exchange of information up there as far as public safety, issues dealing with the geographical area, such as bark beetle problems, pine needle problems, things of that sort. Found that to be a great avenue of communication. I did have a special meeting with the Forest Meadows Homeowners Association, and we discussed several specific problems. One of those was emergency procedures for evacuation that's brought on by the Butte Fire incident, and how to get in and out of those homeowners associations, which we do have a problem with. I know we're going to be working on with our Public Works Division and with the county. Attended the Chamber of Commerce Business Awards dinner on Wednesday night, and was actually requested to make the presentations, which I did gladfully.
It was the Visitors Bureau, wasn't it?
Visitors Bureau, I'm sorry. Visitors Bureau was very well represented by the folks from all throughout the county. On Monday, last night, I attended the GABA, which is the Greater Arnold Business Association meeting. Was able to get input from our business owners and what activities they're going to be doing. They're going to be holding their dinner on the 19th at Sequoia Woods, their holiday dinner. They'll also be holding a Christmas tree lighting, which several organizations will be doing up in District 3, in Dorrington, Avery, and of course our White Pines Parade of Lights is going to be held the day after Thanksgiving. Debbie?
Okay. I attended the Highway 4 Water Committee meeting. It was held as we kind of do roundtable at CCWD. And the group looked at some of its accomplishments and continuation into the future. One of the things that came out of that meeting that the group felt good about was that after many years of discussion and ups and downs, Blue Lake Springs Water Company signed an agreement with CCWD to have some guarantee of water. They've had to drill a number of wells through the years, et cetera. And this agreement was something that was brought forth in the Water Highway 4 Committee meeting and moved forward. So that was, the group felt very good about being a part of that. And in addition to that, the Calaveras conserves, so the information that went out to the greater community of Calaveras County in regards to their conservation efforts, and that just was a very good cooperative effort by many different water agencies in getting the word out. One of the areas that they want to look at in this next go-around, this next year, you might say, is lots of discussion on the Butte Fire and what worked and didn't work for these particular water agencies and others, and taking a look at identifying the infrastructure via GIS. So we'll have some guest speakers coming to our meeting in January, taking a look at that. Everybody has the paper form, you know, a lot of institutional knowledge within these districts, but looking at something greater in regards to the GIS technology, and also how to integrate more of that information into the OES plan and working with our different fire districts. Attended the COG meeting. Our recruitment for members ends on November 20th. Reported at our last meeting, we have 3 openings. We have 1 application. So staff is trying to get the word out. And we do have a relocation of one of our members on the committee. He's only serving until the end of the year, but he was a member that represented D2, lived in D2, you might say, but was affected by the Butte Fire, so now he resides in D1. So D1 now has a member of COG being represented there. We reported on the Wagon Trail project. The public hearing process closed. They received a number of comments, and the COG board took a look at that and is recommending the approval of the red line of the Wagon Trail. We'll be hearing that before our board here within the next, I would assume, 30 to 45 days to take a look at that and make a recommendation as well. The red line is basically the most environmental friendly route, at this point the least expensive route, and doesn't acquire as much land as originally thought. We have an IHSS board meeting. This board will reconvene or convene as the IHSS board on the 24th, and we'll hear a presentation from our chair on the workings of the IHSS committee and their efforts this last year or so. The Central Sierra Planning Agency will not have a meeting in November. We'll reconvene in December. I toured the Butte Fire area with CAL FIRE again, looking at their restoration efforts and their repair. There were some concerns about fencing and dead trees and things along that line in regards to some of the area that was affected by the fire, the fencing that was maybe torn down because of the fire, and access to fire crews and that sort of thing. So had a firsthand look at what was being done, and they're nearly done with their efforts on fencing and things along that line. Pleased to see that Red Hill will open. That's probably the #1 concern I get from most people with the closure of Red Hill and not being able to handle green waste for the last several months. So hearing that'll be opened soon will be a good thing as we start to winterize and remove our debris and move it into a landfill and green waste, etc. And I personally paid my respects to Sheriff Kuntz on a very private basis.
Okay. So on 11/4, I went to the Visitors Bureau Awards Banquet, and very, very nice place. Trying to think of it right now.
Outer Isle.
Outer Isle Restaurant, beautiful place. Served really great food. And for the first time ever in the history of the Visitors Bureau, I'm happy to say that Pickle Patch won Best Restaurant. So that was really great. On 11/5, and Lisa did a really, really great job of doing the presentations, and of course Mike was there doing presentations. We had to leave early because that night we went to Sheriff Coon's viewing, and wanted to give the family support on that. On 11/5, I did agenda review, and prepared for 11/6. 11/6 was the procession for and the celebration of life for Sheriff Coons, and it was quite a deal. I was honored to be able to give a speech on accomplishments and how I knew him personally, and that was very actually touching for me to be able to do that. It was a very good and honorable event. On the next day, Saturday, 11/7, I went to volunteer at Stuff the Bus and at Treats. That's quite a bit of fun to do that. That's where you really get to talk to people. And there's some really great people out there that are continuously giving. Sat with Jeannie out there, and she's really great. On the 8th, which was Sunday, went to an olive oil event, and Chris Mangini, who I used to work for, and her husband Alan, who I used to work for, by the way, own a mill, an olive mill out in Burson Wallace area, and they produce award-winning olive oil, virgin olive oil. And so every year they invite a group of people from San Francisco over. There's a group over there that has this Olive Anything store, and they all come over here and go through the whole process. So we started at their facility where they do the milling, basically. And then everybody goes over to Winter Creek Olive Orchard, and that's Jim and Marianne Melson owns that. And you go into these 6 different groups of people, and you compete on who can pick the most olives in 7 minutes at 3 different times, right? That's really fun to watch. And so then you take the olives back, and they mill them, and they produce olive oil out of them, and you get to take home the olive oil that you get to pick the olives. So it's pretty cool. It's a really good event. And I thought it would be really great if we could actually get some kids to do this sometime during the year. And I'm sure that I haven't talked to them yet, but Chris and Alan are great people. And it would be really great if we can get the kids to go through and see what this process is and just kind of run them through the same thing. It was a real fun time. And then on the last night, at 7, I attended the HOA meeting for Gold Creek in Valley Springs, and they have a couple of issues there. One is erosion control in the back of their homes up on the hill. I guess there was a couple of fires up there, and so they're afraid with these rains what it's going to do to them. And then Cosgrove Creek, of course, and it's not cleaned out yet, but I know Jeff is on that. But then along the walkway in front of Gold Creek there, the creek is starting to undermine their walkway, and they're concerned about that. So I already sent off the information to Jeff Krovitz, and he's going to probably get back to me pretty quick here on it. So other than that, I'm good.
I just have one thing. This has to do with LAFCO, and on the November 16th, 2015, 6 p.m. Agenda under item number 6, the Calaveras Resource Conservation District formation will be being considered. So the board, as you know, took action on this a couple of months ago, and again, it's under item number 6, receive executive officer's report, conduct public hearing, and consider public comment, and consider LAFCO Resolution 2020 in other words, 2015-0005, thereby forming the Calaveras RCD subject to terms and conditions included. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. We are taking the next step.
That is really great. That's really
Nothing to
great.
report.
Nothing to report? Okay. All right. Nothing, Karen? All right. Thank you very much for coming today, and we're adjourned.
We're going to do public comment?
You know what?
Oh, no, no.
You guys want to make any public comments?